Okay. Should it be working? Hopefully. Yep, excellent. So here we have it. I don't know, is this at 30 FPS? I hope it is. Anyway, I do need to try and get this thing out of here so that I can put my 500 watt power supply in instead of the old 250. This 40mm fan, which is the best I could find of the size. Now, as you can see, there's that one speaker there and there's two on top of it. I need to get those out. So let's try and, I mean, I've got this thing here still. Why I've even left that there, I don't know. It's not necessary. It's just my PS2 USB converter because I use a lot of old components. Two Microsoft mice just randomly hanging out there, which can actually use those converters. So there we go. That's the first speaker, which you likely can't see. There it is. And it kind of need to be stood here, even though it's in the way of the camera, because I do need to get these things down. And oh dear, this one does not want to come down. And I've got my hard drive, external hard drives there, because backups are important when you don't use online, especially. We have to have all this storage offline. Got 4 drives in this little thing already. Don't call it Mac killer for no reason. So I reckon if I do this, yes, that is not good, but I guess there's entertainment value there. That's my excuse, and that's the one I'm sticking with. That's a speaker, little speaker thingy, which I believe I actually got plugged in, so that's a thing. There's a cable that comes out though, so that can rest on my hi-fi unit from the early 2000s, which is connected to all these speakers. It's biamp. These two are the high range, and then this Sony one back here, that is the lows. And I also have a subwoofer in the whole thing. This is all necessary for art, definitely. Okay, speakers are off now in a fairly secure position, like just behind me here. Yes, trying to gesture correctly. Now, I've got to unplug everything from the back, the power, the monitors, all that. They've been in here so long. I mean, I would like to get actually an Ethernet connector here. It does support that, and I can't have a Wi-Fi card. The thing is so heavily optimized that I had no space in like the PCI lanes. There we go. There's a lot of cables here. This, you wouldn't think it's just used for drawing, but it is. There's my Wi-Fi dongle. Way in the back. One port works better than the others for reasons I cannot explain. And we do have to like try and pull this thing upwards. I do believe everything, well, besides these two front ones, is unplugged, so they can come out. You know what, I thought this would be a lot more painful. So I've actually got feet on the side, because I can do that now if I want. And there we go. Here is our little thing. Rather this than any Mac Mini, that's for sure. Yeah, still got my express card thing in there. Is it express card? Let's see. Compact flash. It is a compact flash, yes. I have a card reader from 2013 in here, which was actually quite a rare option on these. I got the all-in-one version, and I think that had a few nice things, like it had the side fan somewhere in here, and it had the card reader up here. So all in all, I got a decent system. I do need to find the screwdriver, which I'm sure was over here. Don't fail me now. I did have it. Screwdrivers are never there when you actually need them. I don't know, I used it. Well, that was inconvenient. I should have really sorted that earlier, but I've got this weird screwdriver. It came with a motherboard or something. It's not actually magnetic, and it looks like an Allen key, but hopefully I can show on the end. It is, there we go. It is a regular Phillips screwdriver, and it does fit in these screws. For some reason I keep losing these things, and this is the only one I've got that works with this size, because I keep losing them all. It'll do the job, it's serviceable, and sometimes that's all that matters. So we've got what look like 3 different screws, but of the same size in the back. Hey, I mean, this has been working for so long. I wouldn't be surprised if it's been more than a year I've just used this as it is. Probably not. Probably like more like 6 months since I've had it apart. But I'm working with what I've got here, and I think I've got quite an incredible machine out of this. Mainly I built it with older parts, and I should not be pushing there. That is just like needing to be popped out again though, because I pushed into the wrong support point. Is this? Yeah, it should be sliding. Come on. The thing should just slide off. I don't know why it's not. There we go. Trying to cut my finger, but it didn't succeed. It'll try and do that. So yes, we do. Oh, don't know where that got a bit damaged on the edge. But this is our map. It is for the Wong motherboard, so I won't be using it. On the other side, you'll see there's an embossed stone logo. That's what this machine originally was. There's not going to be a whole lot of stone left on it. Here we have. I actually upgraded this, so I'll show you. I'm just thinking maybe I should 5 drives, yeah. Because what I've got here, actually, that's interesting. I believe, oh dear, I should not be having that card sticking out there. There we go, now it sits properly. I have the 3 SSDs here in like a 2.5 to 3.5 inch kind of bracket, which supports 3 SSD units instead of the 1 3.5 inch drive it came with. Also, because this is from a newer version of the case, which didn't actually have a card reader, I get USB 3 ports on the front instead of a 2.0 ports, and I also get a SSD snuggled in here with the optical drive just below it, I believe. So we have the optical drive here, and then the SSD is like back here behind it. Gotta pop that out again, actually, that backing plate, because I've left that. So here again, I have optimized this to within an inch of its life. This is a small heatsink, but it's actually really good. It's probably the best heatsink I can find that sits in this case and doesn't take up much space. Here is our 5th drive. Yes, I need all these storage drives. I believe this is an upside down 750GB hard drive. It is not supposed to fit here, but it had holes in the back, so I've done that. We've got a USB-C. The only one on the board is back here. You can't see it, but yeah, that's what we got. Built-in HDMI, which I'm not using because it doesn't support 4K 60 FPS. And actually, we've got another USB-C port on the add-on card, so that's something. We've got a graphics card here. We've got the sound card taking up 2 ports, and we've got a USB add-on card. As you can imagine, I have optimized this thing to within an inch of its life. All of the size spaces are used. Hopefully, if I show you this properly, that blue thing, that's my graphics card, and it's like a single slot graphics card, probably one of the best you'll find for this particular purpose. And then we've got the sound card, naturally. Now, speaking of the sound card, I'm actually going to get the power supply out, because I think it's going to just be so much easier to do things this way than try and do it without taking the power supply out. And what I'm referring to is the sound at the front does have some noise coming off the sound card. No idea why that is. Well, you can see I've packed a lot in here, and I do not want to sit on the side of a case. That is not a good idea. But you'll see it's all packed in here. I've put what should be in a full ATX PC case into what is clearly not a full-size ATX PC case, because I had to. This is what I wanted for myself, so I had to suffer with the build, but now it's mostly done. Yes, I will get somewhere. The power supply I haven't bought new this time. I had it in another system I once used for gaming, an all-in-one gaming PC of sorts I built, and it happens to be the same format, so I'm just going to reuse that. It's a good 500 watt unit and a It's from the 2020s. I don't know exactly when, but it's much newer. I'll see if I can find a manufacture date, actually. They do sometimes have this on. So, you know. It was made in China. I know that much. I'm not seeing a date, unfortunately. It sounds like a knockoff, I know. Not having a production date. It is a Silverstone. It's a pretty decent unit. It has an FSP here, which is 350 watt. It is barely enough. I mean, it's worked for so long, and I did my calculations and stuff to make sure it worked. Got kind of Molex to SATA. Sure, you would think it's awful, but it actually works, and it's very reliable at powering the thing. Now, that cable is just hanging there. I wouldn't mind finding a fabric cable tidy thingy to put that together. Could find a few of them, actually. I have one here. But I could do with sorting the cables a bit more. That would not be an awful idea. Mind you, as I say, I have not got a whole lot of space here. So we have this. Going to put it in my little screw connection space. When I have actually got it out, that is. I'll show you what happens with this. It's a pretty nifty solution in terms of getting it up. I mean, I know in America this case might seem totally alien. It's actually just an older school computer case. They used them in like a lot of school computers which are built to be school computers. That tape stops the light going off. That's what it's for. It hides the lighting. Yep, we've got 4 RAM sticks. Nothing significant here. 2 of them have heat sinks. Believe it or not, heat spreaders, but only 2 of them don't. They're the same RAM stick though. They're just the newer ones I bought. Exact spec match, but they are not with the heat spreaders. So I should actually hold this to drain the power. Wherever the power button is, somewhere here, yeah. This yellow tape is essential. It's because the front end was designed for a different case, so I had to use that to kind of space it out. It works, okay? Just we don't ask questions about that. We don't try and pull it off. Like I seem to be desperate to do. No. It shouldn't work, but it does, okay? We don't ask questions when it works. So we're going to have to remove this. I think, firstly, I have to like... Oh, is that like a thing you pop down and then... Can probably use my goofy screwdriver actually to get in there. And it looks like there's a little piece of metal you push down and then I'm having to do it with everything here going on. There we go. So it was like a piece of metal, I'll try and explain. Piece of metal was sticking up like that. And basically I had to prop it down and then let the power supply slide over it. That's the best way I can describe it. Radeon Pro WX4100 is my graphics card. It says right there on the top. For those who do not know, it is not just a Radeon, it is actually a workstation card, but it's one of the best ones, as I say, for this size. I do have a GTX 1650. It takes up 2 slots and it uses a bit more power though. This does what I need it to. It really is optimized, as I say. I like my optimization. And for what I built it for, it's not a bad system at all. The cable is actually, it's kind of got these sleeves on it though on the new power supply, which is slightly concerning when you consider just how tightly packed this is. How am I going to get this off? This is like really stuck in the board. Which I'll have you know, this power supply is not off this board. It's off the original board that this system came with. I'm like, hey, I got the 350 watt, I'm going to use it. Because the 350 watt was the good power supply, like the best FSP unit you could get in this machine. No idea why it was spec'd that way, but I'm not going to complain. If it was a 250 watt, for example, or maybe the 300, I just wouldn't have had enough power to power everything I've stuck in this machine. So, that is the big, like, motherboard power connectors. Somewhere here, there I see it, there is a 4-pin motherboard one. Now, oh, not 4-pin, yeah, it's like a 4 finger, oof. Don't think that dug into my finger enough to make it bleed, which is a positive thing. So we've got one of these, I hope you can see that. It's just like 4-point power connector. Now this is a newer power supply and it's kind of higher end somewhat, so there's even a graphics card connector. Yeah, so we'll see, these are the 2 connectors. Not only is this a black one because it's cool and it's not like the cheap thing this is, although to be fair, FSP make good power supplies like this one is. It's proven that for so many years to me. Yeah, you'll see this one's bigger though, hopefully. I mean, it's harder to see from a distance, but that power connector is bigger. It also says CPU on this, doesn't. You can tell people are going to build their systems more with the black power supply and the silver one, where it's mostly just will have come in OEM machines. I've got like this built-in plastic cable tidy thing here, so I've got to release it from this. Screwdriver time. It's not magnetic, don't worry, I can't do any damage with it if I tried. I say that, I'm going to cause damage with it. I reckon that's how it's going to happen, and... Anyway, I'm only touching the plastic piece here. So that one looks like it's got power supplies going through it. So if I free that, all the SATA cables as well, and now that's fallen, which is not important. For now, we will keep going. I mean, you know, I shouldn't be doing this, I feel, but at the same time I should. It's the weirdest conundrum. Okay. Come on, please come out. There we go. There's actually a not a power supply, there's a fan connector. I'll have to show you that when I remove the power supply. What an interesting addition. Because I could do that, but the motherboard had enough fan ports, and it is actually controlled if you put it in the motherboard, whereas the power supply is just going to throw a set amount of power out. Works if your motherboard only has like a CPU fan power port, but if that's the case, you probably have a pretty low-end board. I don't think even the one that came with this was that simplistic. I think it even came with an Intel desktop board, if I bring that up. Yeah, it says Intel on there, so it came with an Intel board. They don't make motherboards anymore, but I believe they were pretty good, like, business motherboards when they came out. That it actually had a 3rd generation Core i3, and this dust here, that is a fan. So you know what? Just to make things easier on myself, I feel I might as well take out this fan, which weirdly is mounted only using 2 screws. You'd think they'd put more in there. I get it, like, it was never the highest end gaming PC, but how much do screws cost, honestly? If it could put a 350 watt power supply in instead of a 250, they can put better screws in. Maybe even been a 200 watt variant of this. I don't know. We've got 80 plus bronze. Okay, that's something as well. This says 80 plus bronze. I don't even know what you can see from this position because the chair's in the way. I don't have a PC setup. But anyway, yeah, we have this Dusty McDustface. I might try and stick it in another machine because reasons, but yeah, I think that's made horrible grinding noises. It's very dusty as well, actually. Comedically, the rest of the PC isn't. Now, I did have like an air canister duster thingy, which you spray that in and it gets rid of some dust. I've seen another one of them, which I haven't used yet. Don't know where the original one is though. These things are weird. I don't ask questions where they don't need asking. Factory sealed on there. I think that's like the Intel. It says NVMe. I think it's Intel Optane, which it came with. I've just left that. It looks just like an M-SATA SSD though, if I'm honest. You just can't use it as such. Basically, it came with this board in the OEM PC originally came in. I'm not going to touch it. Yes, it came in an OEM PC. Not this OEM PC, another OEM PC. Now, if I can locate where this fan is going to, I can just pull it out of the way. Okay, it looks like I can locate it. It's actually going quite a distance, which concerns me. Because if the other one doesn't have a cable length, I don't know what I'm going to do. But yes, it does. It will clear out a little bit of cabling in here, which there is a lot of. Hopefully I can show this. There is a whole lot of dust here. Thankfully, the Logitech C920, it isn't an awful webcam, so you can see most of what's going on here. Yeah, I am using 1080 though, which is the most this webcam will do. I'm kind of pushing it. I don't have a really fancy 4K webcam, I just have a decent one from yesteryear. Oh goodness. Why am I only just realising this now? The power supply goes to literally everything in the case. And I mean, yes, it kind of needed upgrading, but we're talking everything is powered by the power supply. The SSDs, the motherboard. I mean, some things do go through the motherboard, like the fans, basically all the fans in the case, kind of powered by the power supply and the but they go through the motherboard, so there's not loads of cabling there. The graphics card is the other key one. This particular graphics card you may see in here. As I say, I don't know with that chair there, but this graphics card is not powered by a PCI E-connector. Like, for example, that system over there, which I'm using to stream this, is using quite a lot of power connectors because that is just an overkill gaming PC, which happened to be in the right place at the right time. This does not have that because it's not the same performance level that it's built to in terms of raw performance. Besides the RAM, there is 128 gigs of RAM in a board that supposedly supports 64. I'm crazy, I know, but it makes a difference when you work at the insane resolutions I do, more so than the CPU actually does, because it's got to store a lot there. Same as the reason I've crammed more SSDs into this than I really should. Now, here's something interesting you might find interesting. I don't know, like, there's actually a power connector on this side and two power connectors on this side. Because I've crammed 3 SSDs in, as I say, it's actually a lot easier if I do this than if I try and plug it in both sides. Now, also I do have this, like, this is the easy part because it kind of goes through an adapter to this SSD. Not an adapter. Would you call it an adapter? Well, power adapter, yes. Which has not failed me, as I say, it's actually been very reliable, so I'm not going to complain about that. It's not even a fancy connector, you know. You can possibly tell by this, like, translucent white colour, which is just like an ordinary colour. It's not like the black connectors where they seem to be typically on more expensive stuff. You know me, I'd want chrome connectors, but we can't get chrome connectors. We get what we're given. I mean, the only way you could get coloured connectors is if you get into gaming, modular power supplies, and quite honestly, that's not the kind of space or money I just have to throw away. I'm reusing a power supply I have got from another system that is still a very good power supply. I could do without just dumping money into something I don't need to dump money into. This is really stuck in here. You know what? I'm just going to unplug it. I hate myself for making this harder on myself. I am really struggling. Who made it this hard? Honestly, I don't know. I'm going to need the connector as well. Like, I'm going to need this thingy on the end of a power supply. This is only going to make it harder. Do I have comments up? I think I kind of do, in a roundabout way. But yes, I can't really read them unless I get up. But I can see there's comments there at least, which is a nice, happy little accident, I guess you could call it. Okay, so the SATA cables can stay. I mean, that's something. I'm just going to have to change the power connectors. It says MSI. There's a little plate there saying MSI in this board, and this is not an MSI PC. It's just an MSI board. And there is also another fan port on there, which I'm not even using because I removed the fan from it. I'm dumb. So I think the optical drive also does, in some sense, have a power input and a signal input. Now, I'm seeing a power input. I don't know if it goes directly to the power supply or if it's a converter. If it goes directly to the power supply, I don't know what I'm going to do. Probably pull another connector from the system I got the power supply off, because that actually also had a what do you call it? I don't know if it's 2.5 inch and 3.5 inch like hard drives. I don't think it is. I think it's 5.25 inches typically for a desktop drive. As you may be able to figure, looking at how exactly I have built this thing, that would not fit. So I'm going to pull that out, which is actually, by the looks of it, just a standard SATA connector. Pull this out, see where it goes. A lot of these cables are intertwined in an awkward way. I mean, I'm not one to question something if it's working so well and so solidly. I kind of feel, crazy as it sounds, I kind of feel the only reason my handiwork has lasted so long is like the curse of the school computer. Like, they never fail, especially when you want them to fail. Okay, that goes from the power supply. I'm going to have to pull another connector. Thankfully, the other system is open and stuff, so it won't take loads of time out. Oh, wait, we have something like going under here in what seems like an uncomfortable way. I think I know what that is now. So we've got to pull this around. Stick that back in there to make my life easier. We've got to pull this. I don't know, like, if I have to remove the graphics card, it makes everything a lot more difficult, because I shouldn't have to touch that stuff, and I know what I'm dragging here. It is the power connector for the CPU, the little one, and I'm just hoping this fits beneath the graphics card. Otherwise, my past self and my future self have a much more difficult job of things. Please fit. Ooh, it looks like it might fit. It looks like it might fit. It looks like it might not fit. Maybe I'll have to rotate it because it's slightly taller one way than it is the other way. Please just fit and I will be happy with this for now. Ooh, it's really struggling. You know, I hate myself for this now because it's not gonna fit. I tried, I gave it a decent shot. The only positive to this, the only silver lining is that this machine is very well designed. Interesting, or the case rather, should I say. I wouldn't say something I made is good design. I would never say that about myself. And now I'm dropping screws. Thankfully I saw where it went, which makes things rather more easy. The WX4100 is going to have to be pulled now because I put the power connector under it. You know what, maybe I'll do it again. I don't know, it didn't cause any problems. I just didn't think I was going to replace the power supply, which in hindsight is actually very dumb because knowing it's an old unit, by modern standards, we're talking like a middle-aged power supply of that, like 12 years old. So yes. I don't know when the birthday of this case is actually. I think it actually says its birthday. So, slightly faded. Yeah, birthday, March 2013. I missed its birthday. I'm so sad about that. I missed my case's birthday. And yes, you could say it's manufacture date. I like to call it the PC's birthday. Because I'm weird. There we go. I can at least give you a nice shot of my beautiful little graphics card here. Can also give it a clean while it's out the system and while it's pulled. Oh, here we go. So here's what I was referring to earlier. It is a little kind of thingy of liquid that you spray out and it becomes air in a way that's hard to explain. Okay, so this lid comes off. I'm trying to remember how to do these things. So that lid comes off and then we go and plop this like thing on here, I think. No? Oh. Do we do this? I feel like, you know, it sounds crazy. Do I have to pull this one off? I don't know. It was something weird going on before. Where I believe I had to like pull this plastic bit off and then put the other one on. Yeah, I do think this comes off. There we go. It pops right off there. Like, as I say, you can't really see that in the lighting, but because of the white, it just doesn't interact well with the camera and the lighting. But it's weird because you have to like outright just pull the top of this thingy off and then plop the other whole head on there, which for some reason was not installed to begin with. There we go. So I think that's on. As you may have heard, this is like specifically for cleaning PC stuff. We do that, and the idea is this blows out any dust. Blow it in the end there. There is some dust in there. And yes, this is designed for computers so it won't break it. Ah, I see something interesting about the graphics card. I believe you can see that on the camera now. We have these gold pieces here. I believe that means it's like a PCIe X8 graphics card, whereas if it was X16 it'll be there. It's something like X8, I think. There were also X1, sorry, graphics cards which were like this. Many pins used. Very good for specific circumstances, but it's a rare card to get your hands on, and quite frankly I feel like you would spend more than the card is worth to get that. As in, it's not really worth bothering unless you're building a very specific system, and then if it fails, well, good luck finding another one cheap. So, I'll try and show you by rotating this. That's the inside. I don't know if you can see the RAM here. Yeah, you can probably see it a bit poorly. I don't want to reposition this camera. I've got it set up on a tripod. So that cable is not in properly. So what we're looking at, okay, we're looking at here is a connector. That doesn't have to be taken out. It's crammed like behind my USB add-on card, like absolutely packed in there. I don't remember it being that bad. But I've got two X1 PCIe slots here, and I've got an X16. Go figure, this sound card taking up 2 slots. I didn't actually pay attention to it enough when I bought the graphics card, but it matters that it is this fat, not like this fat, because that is the difference between fitting all these add-on cards and not fitting all these add-on cards, as the sound card actually takes up 2 slots. It doesn't take up 2 PCI lanes, it only takes up 1 X1, but because there's so many ports on the back and it's designed for a half-height system, it can't have things like that with, let's say, show it like that. It can't have, say that, it has to have 2 fingers of size, but like that, and just have them spread out that way. That's the best way I can describe it. So, yes. System Fan 1 and System Fan 2. Oh, so I had it in System Fan 2. That was the wrong config. I should have had it plugged in here if I could. Shouldn't have got in the way there either. So, I don't know. I think, again, I'm just being dumb. There are dumb mistakes I made. As I say, before I move the the sound card stuff, I'm going to have to just pull this. Okay, there we go. That's progress. It's out of the case now. There's still cables here that are kind of like intertwined into everything. Particularly this 4-pin CPU power connector. Which, it didn't cause any issues, but really I was like putting this in because I didn't want to remove the power supply. Quite frankly, it was, I guess, laziness on my part, which, considering how much effort I put into this system, into building this system, it just makes me sound so dumb, I'll be honest here. So we're going to pull this under these SATA cables. I don't know where the cable tie cloth things are. So we've got this. I think they are in the power supply connector, but they're like weird in that they're not really tensioned to anything. So we've got that. That is, I believe, a front panel connector. So that's not something we need to take with the power supply. We need to try and pull this chunker of a connector here through here. Ah, what a good day to spend building systems. I am going to use this though, to be fair, so I'm going to use this a lot because all the digital art I do that's not on like my little Android tablet is done on this, and that is important because I'm using it for the purpose I intend. Okay, so this, I don't know, like, I don't know if I'm going to get this out so easily. I mean, I don't know, that seems like it's on an adapter. The craziest thing though is that, okay, I think I'm getting it here. I think I've got this, I've got a splitter like that, and where it goes into here on this side of the case, it kind of goes above the SSDs and round. So I have to disconnect that splitter because there is a power supply cable kind of attached to the splitter. Maybe you can see this now. Yeah, that's where it's attached. And there we go. Now that's out, it'll still, actually, I shouldn't have removed it though. Like, now I can basically remove that, but I don't need to. I went through so much effort. I remember, like, this was an absolute pain getting in here, and now I have to relive my trauma to try and redeem it through it. Not redeem, pull it through here. Like, I think I've got it. Oh no, there's not a lot of space here. Yes, I'm remembering everything I had to go through before, and it's not nice. It feels like it's going to tear my finger open on some of this metal. I don't think it is going to, but it feels like it. Yeah, I've got it, I've got it. It's going, it's going. Yes, I've done it. Close enough, I mean, to have done it. I just need to pinch this and, like, drag it. Pinch to zoom? No, it's far harder than that. You know, okay, I'll be honest now, this time round, this is all my fault. So, I unplugged a cable which didn't need unplugging because I didn't, like, think about things enough. And that was all entirely my fault, I'll accept it. But at last, the power supply connector that was stuck in there should now be free. Well, free. I use that term loosely. There he is. Now it is free. You see, this is probably the worst part of changing the power supply though. And I get it, on a full-size ATX build, it's not that hard. But you see, I had to route all these cables so the thing would still close. All of these had to be like intertwined so it wouldn't close. And I still have to remove this one piece. I see dust. May have seen that float up there. I definitely did. Just give the whole thing a dust while I'm in here. What's that? I mean, I actually seen that. Oh, now I have to blow it out because it's like a piece of plastic or something. I don't even know where it's gone. And or where it would even come from. Is that a hair? No, it's not. It's just a part of a board. Do not want hairs hanging out in there. It says TI on the motherboard. I don't know what that means. Say B360M bazooka apparently, and the OEM version. I remember looking up this board and there was like a OEM version and a non-OEM version. The one difference I notice from this OEM version to what I could have had, I guess, if I bought it as a standalone, I think that has like a DVI, maybe a DisplayPort. This just has HDMI. Not a problem when I'm using these things. Two of them actually, but I believe it supports quad monitor should I so want it to. Yeah, they are very specific, like mini display ports. I've got adapters to make them HDMI. Well, I say adapters. They're not signal converters. They just change what it is. Don't know, bit of stuff there. That might be because I used it to clean the CPU fan, which is completely devoid of dust, so it seems. Again, I'm going to try and like get the heatsink underneath, just in case the fan is fine, but the heatsink is not. Now, this thing doesn't overheat or anything. Yeah, I think I saw some dust like come out. Because the metal part is the heatsink, you know, and that may have had some dust in. But the fan actually looks completely devoid of dust, which is not too surprising as I only had it in there recently, but still. I believe this vent here is intake. I might be able to stick another fan there, but I don't think it's necessary. We have this this port mostly cleared now. I'm not going to say it's like absolutely immaculate, but I think it's mostly cleared. I mean, it's probably sounding horrible through the microphone. I've just realised how close it is to the microphone. But you know, we have got our KTS battery, which I don't know how old that is. It probably came in this board in like 2017, 18, whenever that was from. So yes, I'm finally going to have this machine where basically anything I reckon is newer than the motherboard, including the memory, the graphics, all that, basically going to be newer than the board itself. Aside from the case and the card reader, which are older. You know, like you see, I build some strange stuff. But I enjoy it. This is not artist stuff. This is not what artists should be doing. This is just nerd stuff. As I was saying, before I put this beast in, I'm going to move the audio because, as I say, it was having some kind of issue with like noise from the sound card. No idea. It was fine if I was using the optical digital output on the back, which it does have. Why I bought a sound card, because then I know that feeds everything. There it is. No idea where that plastic came from, but it's plastic. I feel like it might have snapped off some kind of SATA connector or something. Which again, it's not necessarily a chronic problem. If it's just the plastic and all the connectors still fine beyond that. So it looks like we have 6 SATAs. Pretty decent for any board, especially since I don't have the space to add more. But they are all being used, so to speak. It looks like there's a couple of ports here. Not ones I need, but ones that are, I would say out of use. Not out of use so much. Oh dear, that won't stretch by the looks of it. Wow. I may have had this issue from standard with this machine, where it kind of doesn't stretch, but it does. Like, I just have to close this up, and then it looks like maybe then it will stretch. This is going to be a pain, I can tell, but if it's what I have to do. There is another thing, time to pull the scissors, because These two are tied together here. Can you see that? Like this black thing, that is like a little cable doodad. It's holding them together, and believe it or not, this has been there, I believe, since, maybe not since the very start, but since I probably pulled this front panel from, it's likely been there. So, you know, I'm going to try and trim this off because it's not doing it any favours in its current config. I might be able to stretch it if I do it. Like, I have to try. Funny thing is, I have to try and do this without actually damaging the cables. No, it's like, you see, the best way I can do it, it seems to be cutting through here, but this is not exactly a flimsy connector. Okay, maybe, I think if I go in at this angle. No, again, what am I doing? Right, so time to try and trim it this way. I think I've got it. Yeah, I got it. This is tricky though, to, as I say, to do it without damaging the cable. This, someone back in the day put this in very tightly. And the cable has inverted the, not the cable itself, but the, who made these plastic cable ties so tough? Like, what's the need for that? Oh, got it! My scissors did not like that, but I managed to undo it. Pull you out and pull you out. There we go. So now that is free, and it should have an easier job of trying to stretch, especially like that's wrapped around in an uncomfortable way. That is now free, totally free. So, you know, the only other way I could do it, I don't know. It's not going to work. Like I was going to say, put the power supply in, but not fully secured, and then maybe that will work, but it's not going to because there's so much to do in engineering this to fit. And I don't know. Okay, so here we can have this hopefully sliding in, and don't tell me you ain't gonna fit. It kind of fits. I'm gonna have to really squeeze it in. Yes. Not sure if you can see, but the power connector and like this screw hole on the case, they're literally like that. They're like that. They're touching. I guess you could say I was incredibly lucky that they barely fit without modification of any kind. But it's literally like, it's there. It should not fit. It just somehow, I guess in a stroke of incredible luck, does fit. Now, I'm pretty sure the case screws are basically the same. I also do not know where that screwdriver has gone, which will make my life a whole lot easier, more difficult. How do I confuse the two? Who's to know? I can use the fingers to try and tighten it, and probably fail at that. Yeah, I'm just trying desperately to find it, and I've got to remove that connector from the power supply, and then I can just throw that thing. Oh, no, I won't throw it, but you get the point. I can remove it from this whole ordeal. To be honest, given what this video is, I don't have to redo all the screws. So if I have to, I can just like leave it there and then search out my screwdriver and then put the whole thing back together. And it'll work. Did it end up behind the system? And yes, that does come out. As I stupidly forgot. It like hinges forwards on these two pieces of metal, but it does come out. And that is not necessarily what I wanted to happen at that moment. Still looking for the screwdriver. I've kind of got these in at least enough for now to keep me happy. I can actually do this. Again, I bet this is the dumbest way you've seen of tightening screws. We have to get by here, doing dumb stuff to try and get our machines working. And there we go. Yeah, so that connector, I can see there. I've got multiple ones of them actually. Ooh, well that's nice. That's very nice. It came with one of these. I say came with. It had them in the other case and it's still attached. It's a Sabrent one apparently. It looks quite nice. Nicer than the one I'm trying to retrieve from this power supply. Could I use that? Probably not though, because I don't know how many modern SATA type connectors it has. This has also been the one I've always been using, so I kind of just want to keep that. This is missing a piece of plastic there, but I think this 750GB drive has for a long time, so that's nothing new. This is a cable. I mean, I could actually try and like loop that under the graphics card. That's not the worst thing to try and do. Yeah. So I know what I'm going to have to do though with the thingy. This is not good. Okay. This one. Oh wait, it's okay. I can bend the cable on the side. I was thinking that's too far gone. It isn't. The issue with this, like, the actual port, there actually is like 4 things. And on both ends, you can move the cables and it will actually move them. Go figure why SATA is ultimately a better option, but it isn't always the option. If I find another SATA connector, maybe then I can just use that, but, you know. I'm going to put that part of the way in. Because as I say, if I find a spare SATA connector. Now, this is SATA, okay. It has to go like, it has to get snuck back there. That's the only way I can really do it. Oh, this is a triple. Okay, that splits it into triple, which is good. I did not know that. I had a triple converter there. So we've got these big cables. I want to get in the SATA ports though, because they are likely to be tricky. If I can do this without the Molex to SATAs, as I believe we call them, that will save a bit of effort. I think I might have to just remove these SATA connectors I have got in here, and there's usually catches on that edge. So, you know, yeah, had to stick my finger right back there in an uncomfortable position because there's catches, there's metal catches there, and they are like on the wrong side. Oh, how brilliant that would turn out to be. I may sound like I'm irritated, but I genuinely enjoy this, perhaps far more than I should enjoy it. It's like, it's one of those things, it should be considered just tedious, boring work, but I genuinely enjoy doing this, whether or not it is tedious, boring work. Okay, I don't like this. Like, this one, they go in better. There is enough SATA connectors, though, so, like, I don't want to split that way. Also, especially considering, yes, as I say, this is a free splitter. So it splits this one SATA into 3. And I intend to keep using this because in this particular case, it's ideal. Like, even if there's more SATA ports, it's always worked for me in the past. So I don't see it failing any time before. And believe me, I really use this machine quite heavily for art. So if there was any serious problems with the cabling, I would have noticed by now. Either by sheer luck or just, I don't know, good engineering, which I wouldn't ever believe about my own engineering. Yes, it's worked. That cable being like, the connectors being where they were, it was not the easiest to secure, but I've done it now, and I can see now, I can see where the stuff is going. Oh, wait. There's another one. This splits into 4. I thought it split into 3. There is a spare connector. Oh well, time to feed it up here, I guess, where it's not going to be in the way. Because as I say, I do recall I had some struggle actually closing the thing before, so I'm going to have to make sure anything that doesn't have to be there is not in the way there. Whereas sticking it in here with the SSDs, there's enough space for it to just slot up the side and not get in the way. The SATAs as well, it doesn't actually matter what order they're in, as long as they are connecting the drives up securely and safely. I've just realised actually, you see, this is optimised to within an inch of its life because we have like the way the hard drives, or SSDs rather are positioned. You have like two facing this way and then the one on top facing that way. So obviously where there's not space for the cables on the very top SSD, I put the cables the other way, and you know what? It's working. You see, I did have to really precisely engineer this thing though, and like, as I say, I think I'm going to have to locate that other cable for the optical drive, which I do use, believe it or not. I do use my optical drive. People say they're useless. I specifically built this system with all the stuff I needed, including an optical drive. It's just one of those things. I feel like people are eager to leave this stuff in the past, but they have uses. And I mean, especially in the case of a laptop size drive, the use is there and they do not take up a lot of space. As you see, I've packed like 5 storage drives inside this tiny system, and they're going to say it's just a waste of space. I fit 5 storage drives and a optical drive to read my CDs, DVDs, and they're going to say there's no space for it. I did this in a tiny machine. And you're telling me by... that means, oh, power connector, you may be needed. No, you're not needed. Oh, maybe that's where the stuff is coming off. This, whatever this drive is, it's a Kingston one. I don't know which size it is. But yeah, plastics are a bit broken on that. Not to a point I'm not going to use it. Just the plastics, not the actual connectors. But yeah, I think that is where this came off. Because I did take the cable out. Obviously, it's got brittle with a heat or something. And then that's come off there. These stuff happens. There's still enough to easily hold the cable in there. It was probably long broken, let's be honest. But just inside the cable. So I'm going to have to pull the other optical drive connector. Because as I say, this power supply had one. And it's no longer suitable. So, this is what we've got. It appears to be... Also, I'm blocking the mic. This is what I've got. It appears to be the power and the signal. Like, this is one adapter here. That goes into the laptop optical drive. Because a lot of systems do nowadays. They use the laptop optical drives. Or I say nowadays, a lot of the newer systems use laptop optical drives, if they have optical drives. And they need one of these because typically, as I show you, SATA is... Where is it? Well, this one will do. SATA is like one of these for a desktop. And then the laptop one, this is like power and signal, remember. It's a much shorter version of the same connector. Whereas just for comparison... This would be like our desktop power and signal. And then this is a laptop one. So quite a bit shorter, which makes sense. It's designed to fit in a laptop. This was never the original intent, but over time it obviously became clear to the manufacturers. In order to get this stuff all working together, we are going to need that. Yeah, oh, I remember now. The weirdest thing is this optical drive, the way it was in that other machine, as I say, I got a new optical drive than the original one because... it came with it in the other system, which I had donate this internal front panel. And it's kind of bent at the back in like an uncomfortable angle. You would not think this would work so well. It works perfectly, but the optical drive is like, the actual metal at the back is like that. Obviously, I'm exaggerating, but it is bent at like a way I feel like it shouldn't realistically be bent at. Works perfectly. I used it quite a bit to make Linux DVDs and stuff for other systems. It's very useful. Regardless of what people tell you about optical drives, I have a lot of use for them. That's nice. Floppy disk connector actually fits in the top there. Now, I was thinking this cable is a bit short. I'm going to run into some real problems. I'm not going to run into some real problems. Now, it takes a oh, okay. I thought it was like feeds off into floppy power. No, it uses a floppy power connector. Sometimes modern power supplies like this one have a floppy power connector. If it doesn't, I'll have to find some kind of converter. It has this. No, it doesn't that. That has that. The other one. I'm going to just get rid of this power supply to avoid confusion and just free up desk space. Which I should have done a long time ago. But I'm distracted. I honestly don't know. I do have another system. But then that is not the same connector because it goes through a different organisational method. I'm just lost. Okay, I'll be honest. Time to pull off another system, a connector, because if I don't have floppy power, I'm doomed. Unless I can find the floppy power. So let's look. That's graphics. I'm not going to need this, but it isn't modular, as I say, so I'll have to just find somewhere to put it. I found my screwdriver, which was actually underneath the power supply, so I can tighten these two screws on the power supply here. The new power supply, might I add. Well, new comparatively speaking. It's not a brand new power supply, hence why it wasn't in the box or anything. I was just thinking, though, I need it because the fan has to go in and, you know. At least with this in my hand, as long as I don't lose it again, I should be able to put the whole thing together, which is nice. There we go. So we've got this. I do not know what that is. J3 P11. I don't know what that connector is in the slightest, but it's there. I mean, I know there's probably people going to tell me that's the most useful connector ever. I don't use it in my particular case, so I had no need to learn what it was or what it did. System fan 1 there, okay. I'm not seeing a floppy connector. Checked that one. This is a SATA, just a SATA. This one is the power connectors, so they're going to have to go in. I know that. Regardless of what the specific circumstances are, they're going to have to go in, but then the SATAs and stuff. Trying to get the optical drive working. I'm going to see if this one PC I have, this old one, has the correct power connector to just work, because I want to get this thing together without having to pull out any more parts. I want this thing to get back into commission as soon as possible. So, yes. That's a portable optical drive. And I don't want to knock over the keyboard I've got over here. So I have found the unit. It does seem more standardised in some sense of a term. Got to free the SATA. And thank you, RM1 from 2010. You have delivered what the Vigeland could not deliver. To donate a power connector to my Stone PC. Like, actually, this is actually really dusty. I mean, it was like the dustiest machine I think I've ever experienced. And that's to say, I've used older ones. But that machine from 2010, when I got it, actually is like spares or repairs, so very cheap. It was very, very dusty, but it did actually work. Ironically, the power supply worked, but the fan did not. So I was basically running a power supply which was unintentionally fanless. Thankfully, I have, as I sometimes buy new parts, I did have a leftover power supply from another system, so I just used that and it worked. You might be able to tell it's just a hobby of mine playing with old systems. Go figure why my art PC is this chaotic mess. But it's a chaotic mess that I'm so in love with. Ooh, that's nice. That's actually a weird hard drive bracket there. Ooh, would you look at that? Like this goes in there. Like almost like it's mounted to the optical drive itself. It isn't, but it can really get snuggled in there. And I like that. There's like a little, not pouch, but there's just like a little hole. Like something like that, basically. And I can slide it right in there. And then I've got the power port all in one. Like there's still dust there. I wonder. I mean, you could tell it was a heavily used school computer. Yeah, if I thought that dust was only going to come out. That's the best I can do right now. I think it's so deep dust though, and I wouldn't even be surprised. Like, this connector obviously isn't the best one in the world, but I want to get this system working, and I'll take what I can get. That SATA cable is not in the best state. Oh well, it's usable, it's serviceable. So here, from the power supply, we have this. Now, I'm going to remove this connector, this SATA converter, because seeing what I've got in here, it's not necessary for this particular machine. We've got this one, like, I don't know, because there's so many of these things. Personally, I think I'm going to lean towards this one, which I've actually started plugging in there. Thankfully, I didn't put it in all the way, so I guess my foresight there was correct. Because this just, like, goes on the end, and I think it's probably my best option. Right, so that goes under there. Yeah, there we go. There's actually a lot of space on top of that SSD, which is good, because if you see this, like, I'm not using most of this connector, just put it in like that, hopefully. Not ideal, but close to it. I mean, we've got that nicely snuggled on the end. Can actually bring this over here, so, you know, it's a bit less in the way, even than it is. Nice long connector. I think I've got like a weird SATA designed specifically for that port there. I don't know where it is though. There we go. So this is, I think it's just a regular SATA. It is, but it's not the best SATA. I think I can do better. And now I'm going to have to unplug this end of the SATA. I mean, this is kind of a poor condition SATA, so I might actually just switch them over and use the one that was in the optical drive in there. Because there's some dents and stuff, which, again, it'll work if it needs to. It's not, like, chronically broken, although, I don't know, because if it just gets crushed under there and then it's all smushed, obviously there's just going to be dents anyway, and I'll just ruin another SATA cable. You know, I don't even know where this is from. Does it say? Mini SATA cable, which it isn't mini SATA, maybe it's compact, but it is just an ordinary one. So, trying to find something about patents written on there. Probably going to copyright strike me for featuring a SATA cable. I believe actually there's a reason why these always seem to be red on old systems. I don't know exactly, but I know for older VGA connectors they were blue to signify VGA, hence the ends of the cables were also blue, making things easy. And DVIs were white, again both on the ports they plugged into and the cables. It's sadly something we lost with a move to HDMI and DisplayPort and the other modern formats, USB-C I guess to an extent, although it's less used I reckon than the other ports. It's something that sadly we lost over time. We lost that kind of ease of access that told you where every cable went. I guess when the internet wasn't as prominent you kind of needed these clear instructions, but still, just because the internet is a thing doesn't, in my opinion, mean we should make things harder for the end user or the builder, whatever you call it, person who builds computers. This cable is not nice in how it's laid out. You know what? I feel like these cables though, they're all so long, like maybe it would just help if I went and used the shorter ones, of which the optical drive one was one of them. No, I'm going to have to put my finger in this awkward place again because I have done a stupid. You know, I feel like I should have just left it. There we go, it's out now. You see, in case you can tell by how, like, twisted this cable is, it worked, but it was a bit too long. Like, this one, yes, it's twisted, but it's a lot shorter, which I think in this particular case, no pun intended, is the better option. And there we go, you are going in. Like so. Maybe it was on the optical drive. and now it is not. Because kind of the adapter I've used has this like built into the end. I don't think it's going to affect speed. It was in a very slow optical drive to begin with, but you know, it's fairly standard SATA stuff. I've used SSDs in like really old SATA cables. It's not made a blind bit of difference. I'm sure you can get faster ones out there, but if it works, in my opinion, then that is good, because you can pull a lot of speed from just an ordinary, like, cheap SATA cable. And I know, there's probably better rare earth metals and all the rest of it, but in reality, when this is all closed, there's no RGB, there's no window on the side, there's no need to make all the stuff needlessly pretty. I don't think it's necessarily a bad looking system inside, it's just, what would the advantage be to any of that stuff? So I have plugged the optical drive in with this end, yes, and then I need to, like, actually, am I doing this correctly? I think I am. So will that go underneath? I believe what's going on here, like, that is actually not perfect. The tension is definitely there. Tension is building, I guess you could say. So we have to try and pull this graphics card connector in here, which I don't need, just to kind of free this cable up, because obviously this is, if any cable, this is the one that just doesn't have the length. So I want that to be kind of taken out the outer path. CPU power there, which, you know, I may plug this in soon because reasons. Again, we had this like just stuck on top of a CPU heatsink, not the best for cooling. I think here I am actually going to make a few improvements. As I say, I'm going to have to find some cable ties and finally finish this off, but I might have them somewhere. I might even know where they are. I keep this stuff to hand usually. This connector, that's not great. I mean, I wonder, could I maybe even stick it in between the RAM? Kind of, yeah, just inherent cable tying to the system. No, it's just popped up. Maybe down here. You know what, that kind of works. Maybe if I go between these two RAM sticks. There's less space as well, so kind of less wiggle room. It's going to be more forced into the middle. You know what? Like, I've had worse ideas, although I fear if the RAM gets hot, that's not going to be good for it. That's honestly my fear. But still, like that, I've had worse ideas than that, yeah. But as I just say, I don't want that melting if the RAM gets hot, and I feel it's just safer just left out. That's the best I can do right now, I feel. Just like leave it here. I mean, the cable's fine. It's just coming from this Arctic ZPU cooler. Yes, I do use brand names occasionally when I get them cheap. Not the best strategy, perhaps, but still. This is how art is made. Go figure out the way I see it. This machine is art. In its weirdest way, it is an art form. I think managing the cables. Most people will not appreciate this kind of art form, but I certainly do. So here we have this cable. I think that being at the bottom of the connectors is not ideal. I think I want it to be like higher up, so it kind of pushes the other cables down. Kind of like if anything goes. Like I don't want it to pull the cables up. It's probably the best way. I want it to push like that. Should be a bit more secure overall. So here, we don't need this anymore because we just don't. With all this power supply's extra connectors over the other one, it's gonna fit no problem. What I find interesting actually, that RM machine, it actually had this old Molex port on the adapter, would I call it, which is now buried in there, thankfully out of the way. It had the old style Molex before it went into like the SATA of the optical drive. I guess it's because, as I say, it's from 2010. Less power supplies will have had an excess of SATA ports, like this one obviously does. It has, well, more ports than I guess you could need for anything, essentially, because it is kind of a gaming power supply, at least as far as you can go for a TFX. This is one of the better power supplies you can get. Not going to say it's the best. You may be able to get something like 700 watts. I think it was an SFX, but I did see an SFX format of 700. So you can pack a lot in to these smaller power supplies. 500 is by no means the most overkill I could go, but for this machine, it was surviving on 350 just fine. I just want something that's less worn out. The power supply I've got here, I may even be able to find when this was made, probably similar to the machine. This, as I say, I don't know. It doesn't actually say, but it's 2030. You know, this is like 2013 machine. This is a, what's it? Yeah, it's called FSP 300. It doesn't actually tell me a whole lot. No. Oh, I thought it was a 350. Okay, I've been using a 300 watt power supply, which probably isn't good enough, thinking it's a 350. It somehow lived. So we're looking at a pretty good percentage. We're looking at like a 66-ish percentage increase over that one. Wow, I thought that was 350. I don't know where I pulled that number from, but that's a 300 watt power supply, not a 350. An alarming discovery. It's one of those things I guess I would never know without actually finding out. So this is a card reader, USB 2.0. Apparently it's only using one of the USB 2.0s, weirdly, because like the ports have 2 lines of connectors and that is only using one of them. I don't know why they would do that, as every USB 2 connector on board I've ever seen has like the 4 ports. Perhaps they used a very weird board with it. The RMPC I nicked my optical drive connector from. Would you believe it? It only had 2 SATA ports. One for the optical drive and one for the hard drive. This has 6, as I think I mentioned before. Also, there was no graphics card PCI on that. You only had an X1. As I say, that's one of the specific circumstances where you could probably do with a X1 card, although it did have inbuilt graphics, so that's probably what you would be using on that particular machine. As I say, you've got 2 SATA ports, barely a gaming PC board. It was small though, so I'm sure it has its uses. It was small and it supports a lot of the 775 chips, even really late ones, Core 2 quads and everything. It has its uses, definitely. Also DDR3. As I say, it's not a hopeless board, it just lacks a lot of features. Just basic, I guess you could say. So, here's the stuff we've got. This goes under... I don't actually mind what I've done with this at all. This goes underneath here, and it ends up with powering the very thing that goes underneath, I believe. No, it doesn't. It ends up powering the other stuff, the actual CPU, which is under this heatsink. It's only a single CPU machine. You think I'm going to fit dual CPUs with this kind of cooling? And this micro ATX board, which as far as I know, if there is dual CPU boards, they're full ATX or something to that effect. I do have a dual CPU system. It's probably less powerful than this because it has no hyper-threading and it only has dual quad cores, but it's a fun thing to play around with. Yes, that's 2008. This machine is quite a bit newer than that. This is like 2017 in terms of internals, which... conveniently, it's the oldest CPU generation you can put Windows 11 on. Believe me, I'm going to make this thing last. I got lucky, okay? I got lucky this supports Windows 11 officially. There's nothing else to it. You see, I'm seeing the SATAs and stuff here. Now, these are going to get compressed down in many ways when it's closed, so that's a thing. Now, if I'm looking at this correctly, yeah, that's going to go out there. This can go here, perhaps. Probably not going to affect anything too negatively if it goes, like, down there. This can actually be brought up that way. As I say, this is going to go, like, I have to, a part of me has to sort this out. Because reasons. I can actually unlatch this and just, for now, nick this cable tie. Very dusty fan. I felt like showing that for no apparent reason while I undo this with the other hand, trying to multitask. So here we have this off here. Very twisty. It's like one of those snap bands. Just because it's been in the same position for so long. Years, I would say. There we go. Around you go. Now it looks like it's struggling to fit. It looked like it fit before I put this on. Anyway, here we go. Okay, that probably should have been included. I am dumb. I am dumb. As a matter of fact, I think I'm doing something really dumb here. Like, the way this cable is around, yeah. It's like, it's literally going back on itself in a way it should not be going back on itself. Because it's taking up more space on an already very restricted PC for space. There we go. Like, that needs to come up here. And here we go. And... so are you going to actually do a thing? Yes, you're going to go up here. I'd say, well, this, again, I think it's the case. This actually kind of needs to go back on itself just to basically organise the cable. But the way I had that SATA connector before, that was just not doing it any favours. This one, I mean, I need to like loop it back and then loop it out again just to make sure, because it's going to have enough space. It just needs to go like that. So, oh, yeah, that's not going to be a problem particularly. That's the CPU power. Wait, you're going to do this to me? You're going to tell me now you have a floppy connector? Deary me. Should I use this then? I don't know. The thing is, floppy connector is small. Like, that's the thing. The floppy connector can basically be shoved out the way anywhere. I couldn't find the floppy connector before, though. I mean, I'm happy with how it's ultimately come out, but still. I guess you could say I'm not angry, I'm disappointed. In fairness, the system this power supply came out of was the same system this came out of. I should have put the pieces together and worked out that had to have the optical drive powered in some which way. So, yes. That also has a slot loading optical drive. Some nice pieces on that. I mean, as I say, I'm going to stick the 300 watt in there, which I think is still fine. I think the grinding noise was this fan. Let's see if I can spin it. The weird thing was, like, I read ball bearings can make a noise. I don't think I get it spinning quickly enough, but there's a lot of dust in here, more so than there was in the power supply, which I don't think has a lot of dust if I just check it. Yeah, there's definitely some dust on it, but nowhere near as bad as this fan. Like, I thought this fan wasn't working that hard. I guess it must have been because there's dust all over the place. Now, let's take a break from this cabling disaster that I call my computer to open this nice Noctua fan. Because cooling is important. Even if you don't use this. I mean, there's other fans. It's just, as I say, choice is limited in this space. I've got a really small one. Oh dear. Gonna have to order another one. That's my fault. Maybe it's a 60mm or a 50. I don't know. I was sure that was the right one. Has got some connectors and stuff there. I'll have to order a new one and put it in tomorrow before I fully put this thing back together. But you know, I honestly don't think I'll have the energy to draw after all this cable management. So it's all working out. The fan is actually going to be the easiest part to put in, I think. After I've done the power supply was always bound to be hard. Obviously, the reason I didn't do it before, but I'd already gone through so much work, you have to question, wouldn't it have been easier to just swap the power supply back then? Now that is audio. That audio, the thing is, it will go in the sound card just fine. But if it makes noise, like, round the front audio port, it makes the front audio port unusable. As I say, the sound card is fine. I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's analog and it's, like, picking up the, like, audio from this fan, which is right next to the sound card. I really don't know. I've not had the motherboard sound system do that before, though, so I'm just going to use that. It's not old enough that the sound quality will be reduced. It's going to have a decent sound chip built in, even if it's not got optical audio on the board itself, like a few boards do have, even Micro ATX ones. This one didn't have it, so I had to make do, make it work for me. So we have this yellow cable, which actually seems too long for my liking. We have this red cable, also seeming too long for my liking. But I'm going to have to use what connectors I have here, unless I steal one from another system. Yes, I'm having evil ideas. You know what? I think I might have had a weird one in that RM PC. Let's see. Are you going to bring me a good cable? I hope so. Okay. That one had one, but it's pretty long. I did find this. I found this yellow SATA, which is basically what I've already got in there. Ooh, no. That's not a short SATA cable, that's something else. It's so tricky, though, to get this correct. And you see, I'm paying attention because I know how tight this is. I think I'm paying more attention than last time, where it was just a case of get this thing closed and working. I need to now try and get the thing like functioning properly. And have I? Yeah. So this one is a shorter cable, which is I think going to go under here, which will actually be on top of it when this thing closes, perhaps comedically. So, like, I don't know if we're talking about this yellow one. This can go further back, I believe, because naturally, owing to the positioning and everything, it makes more sense to put this short cable in here. Try and, like, line it up. We have a blue connector, which is actually hiding out with a USB 3. It's kind of twisty. I don't think this will cause much problem though, and you know, if I put it with a USB 3, it hides out there quite nicely actually, like you never know it's there. Yes, it's kind of twisty and it's out of shape, but what to do? This, basically, I'll put it in the middle of the case, just to make sure, because there's not a lot of space here, given how much is going on. There is not a lot of space at all to hide all the stuff. Again, this is going to go out, like, as I say, there's more space when that goes out. I can do some things later. I don't want to just rely on that as an excuse, though, that, oh, I can fix it later, because I just want to know, really, that when I can do something and actually genuinely fix it, and I know I can fix it with, I guess, solid grounding behind my reasoning, then it makes sense. So, I do not know how long I've been streaming for, but the streaming has to be done. Okay, I put that over. I'm being dumb. Over and under are the same thing. No, they're intertwined though. So we kind of have this. I think if I flip it around, maybe. No, I don't know. So I think if I bend that back that way, there is not a whole lot of space, and this is kind of scary actually, because not as in I don't think it's gonna work scary, it's scary as in there's just no space, and especially with this big sleeved cable. If we look at the power connector for this, no sleeves, and you see it's like it's still compressed right down on the edge. That's how I was using it, because there's no way, if you don't compress the sides down, of it even fitting. Thankfully, I think by the time the sleeves are here, like, we've got no sleeves here, and then by the time they appear, it's already gone far enough back that it's no issue. So I think I'm going to have to just stick that, basically, over the RAM, and, like, behind the graphics card. Which I will have to put in, yes, but the graphics card takes space, and I don't remember where I put it, that is. No, and my hand needs space. So here we have, actually, at least one thing just tucked under there, and we also have that goes over, that's okay. You see, sure, it's like certain places in this case where there's more space than others, I'm going to have to really try and use that on my side. There's not a whole lot of space as though where there is space. And this is just not right for me because of some big PCI connectors for a graphics card, I don't need them, and I'm not just going to cut them off. That would be incredibly wasteful. But just to say, oh goodness, might have to replace the thermal paste. Maybe that's what the grinding noise was, actually. Not that it was broken, but that somehow it was working with a heatsink like this. Not good. I mean, it's possible I knocked it when I was working on it. I'm sure it was stable. But yeah, replacing the thermal paste is not a bad decision. I don't think I'm going to show that. I mean, I'll show you taking it off just to see what's underneath it. But I know I'm going to have to redo the thermal paste off camera because I just want to do it properly, basically. I'm pretty sure the fan that was in here made grinding noises. Because that fan, it was a MSI one that came with. And that didn't really fit. But then I put it in another system and yeah, it could not cool the Intel i9. There we go. Yeah, I mean, the thermal paste, it looks like it still has some dampness to it. There's a lot of it there, though, and it looks kind of dry. So what I'm going to do, unplug this. Like, there is just a fan port, as I say. You see, this looks small. Believe me, it cools far better than you would think for a tiny little heatsink. Yeah, as I say, I believe I had something else in here, which I redeemed from basically an old 775 machine. To be fair, it was older, but it took up more space and it didn't cool it as well. This is, I guess, more like a stock Intel one, but if you look at the reviews, you'll see it's good for what it is. I guess the fan is just very good on a perhaps less so amazing heatsink. So this is coming out here. That is looking kind of stretched, but that's fine. It will have more space when I fold it over. Now, this will, I think, go under these cables. There's enough length that it shouldn't cause any issues. There's my floppy drive connector doing nothing. So, basically, connectors which for this machine, are all intents and purposes, are useless. On other machines, they would have a use, but not here. So these two are going to have to be wrapped up. Now, if I can find the cable ties. I did think they were up here. I found one that got covered in fluff. That's not one we really want, though. We don't want fluff in a newly built machine. I honestly don't know, but I have found this. A screwdriver that is actually magnetic. You know, it's one of those things you kind of can't make it up. Because I wanted a better screwdriver. I don't want a better screwdriver now. I want the cable tie thingies. The fabric ones I got, and they're not anywhere to be seen. But it's this. Just seen down here, I have one, which is not in terrible state. Oh, I have another one. Okay, I found some used cable ties. That's something. I mean, there's a bit of dust and stuff on this, but I can get it off quite easily. So I have a point of starting. It's just so hard to like try and stay at the desk and build it when the stuff that I cannot stay at the desk for because it's somewhere else and I've lost the cable ties. I had like a whole new set of them, like a load of them, probably 20 or something, but I do not have them now. Nothing I have seems to be in my hands when I need it. It's all gone at that point. Yeah, I'm just trying to get some of the hairs off this because it's been on the floor, so yeah, it's picked up off, obviously. I mean, it will work. I'll just have to try and make sure it doesn't hit the motherboard. It's not ideal now. You probably shouldn't even be using the cloth ones on, like, fabric ones inside a system. But I do, and they work. So who cares about what you should or shouldn't be doing? Anyway, the point was, I need to find some of these because I just want to wrap these up and like tuck them out the way somewhere where they're not going to bother anyone or anything. I mean, I might just be able to put them along here if there's space. I know you could say it'll block the power supply fan. Typically, it can draw air around stuff. As long as it's not like totally blocked off. If it's not totally free, but it can still pull air around the cables and stuff, it'll be fine. Yeah, I gotta pull that off. That's not good. It did come off though, which is something. So we're gonna do this in like two places which I feel like are necessary. If I had more, I could like tidy it up in more places, but I'm working with what I have at this moment, so I have to do what I can at this moment. So all of the SATA ports look to be filled besides one of them. I have to work out where that's going to because, yes, it needs it. Like, power cable is not in here. I need to put the power cable in there. I am getting close though to the state of completion I need. If I didn't buy the wrong fan, things would be easier, but you know what? I'm going to make it work. It's not like that's the key of the build anyway. The power supply was the big thing. I can get a new fan for tomorrow, and then I can get the thing together, and then I can use it. As long as I've done all this cabling, like this is a big painful element of the whole build. So we're going to have that like go down there. These are going to probably get pulled somewhere around here. Well, that was dumb. I mean, I've kind of got that running through the middle. Now, I don't really want that happening. It's just going to make things more difficult. So, yes, as I say, I do have to try and get the... What's it, though? Like, they're going to go wherever there's space. The CPU fan is not impeded. That's good. Because I do want it to have some cooling. As I say, I got to it and then I'm like, oh, this is not attached at all. True, I was moving my hands around, so it's possible it was perfectly in there, but it just wasn't anymore after I knocked the connectors. Okay, well that's something new. Somehow a hair got itself inside between like the memory and the memory slot. That should not have still been working in such a circumstance. But it worked perfectly for so long. What's going on with me? I've put the heatsink ones on the outer side because, well, heatsinks are taller and I do not have a lot of tall space. I believe you can get low profile ones, but can you get low profile 32 gigs ones? I'll try and show you. Like, I've got 4 of these. 32 gigabyte DDR4. It runs at 3200 megahertz, but I'm running it at 2666 because that's what the board can handle, and as I say, it's not a gaming PC. I don't need like absolute speed. I just need capacity and good speed. 2666, there's nothing wrong with that. Got rid of the annoying hair, which somehow found its way there. I mean, I don't exactly have a lack of hair, so go figure. The fact I was using it like that, though, I feel the whole machine should have set on fire, but it didn't. Do not get hairs in your computers when you're building them. I say that as if I know, which I don't. That can go in there. So this is the, what's it? As I say, that'll be freed up. I might, it depends how easy it is. I mean, okay, USB 3 card is coming out. I don't need to remove the sound card, but I do need to access that. And it's with these USBs like hanging over where that port would be, it's going to be very hard. You know what? I'm beginning to feel like the other screwdriver may actually be better for this. Go figure. So that's going over there, but that was basically wrapped over it, but it wasn't like completely holding it in. There we go. So this is very important. I needed more USBs, so I got more USBs. You know, it's kind of a thing, like, I feel weirdly attached to this motherboard, so instead of just throwing it out, I, like, added to it. Which I guess isn't a bad option. I mean, the thing is at least still alive. Which is more than can be said for how some people treat their computers. Especially how Apple wants you to treat their computers. Like, if you know anything about Apple, they want you to just subscribe to the buy a new one philosophy. Not a philosophy I approve of. Microsoft nowadays is almost as bad. As I say, this machine isn't even that old, and it's the oldest one you can officially run Windows 11 on. So, you know, no one's innocent anymore. Microsoft used to make software. Back in the Windows 7 days, they made software that would run on Pentium 3s that were like, I don't know, 10 years old probably at the time. Up to 10 years old, they would still run on them. Now you're looking at this PC, 2017 as I say, and you're lucky if you have a machine of this era that will run Windows 11. An OS that is not even out this year. Go figure, like, Windows 7 times were just easier. The only advantage is the 8th gen machines are getting pretty cheap nowadays. They're like where the Core 2 Duos were. And the Core 2 Duos, I remember in my younger years, they were actually a very good value proposition. Because you could get them for almost nothing and they would run basically anything. Had one with Windows Vista, liked it. Yes, everyone else hates Windows Vista. I cannot hate Windows Vista after that machine served me so well. So, okay, no SATA cable in here. We're going to have to use a SATA cable. One of the longer ones is fine for this. So what do we have here? We have, looks like it's going to go in this way. Yes, I have a blue, red and yellow and even black SATA cables. We don't discriminate by colour with my SATA cables. All SATA cables matter to me. I'm not sure if there's any other colours of SATA cables. Now I want to, I know I've got like a kind of chrome finish red one. I want to find out now how many different colours of SATA cables I can get. Like, you mean just replace the spare red ones with alternative SATA cables. I've got like 3 red ones. Just like have a rainbow SATA. As I say, you don't see it, but it's kind of amusing just thinking I've got 4 different colours of SATA here. I think the black one, to be fair, is like a part of the optical drive one, so it's not like a full black SATA cable. But I'll take it as a win. I believe, personally, it is a win. I'm doing a good job of actually avoiding the CPU cooler area, though, I'll say that much. I do think the cabling has improved on this particular system. That stuff is over there. Now, let's try and put this down. Oh. Yes, that's how I am. Now, can you see my issues? I have issues. Doesn't help that's at the top. So if I look at that. Yes. So if we look at this, we have a crucial problem we didn't have. Cable there at the bottom. The new one there, like, up there. This actually seems to have them at the top or bottom. There's, like, a plate there. So, I don't know. This machine was not made to be the machine it is today. I've had to, like, make compromises. If I can do this and if it works... Don't tell me it's over now. All this work and what am I getting? A load of enraged PC parts. Some things they can be fixed though. Okay. I don't think I can turn this upside down, can I? No. Where would it breathe anyway? There's no vent where the power supply is. Ooh, is this going to work? If this works, I will be somewhat amazed. The one way I can think is like, try and like heavy arch it there. There's a cable tie there, which I don't think is absolutely necessary. Yes. It hits that cable tie specifically, so I think I can find a way of doing this. I mean, anyway, gonna leave it here for today. I've done what I can. It's really just going to be a case from here on out of reinstalling the CPU heatsink wherever I've put that. There we go. Of putting this on and then putting it all back together, and, you know, I've done all the main cable working here. I haven't done all the main cable working here. This is not in there anymore. I don't know how, but it isn't. No, you're going to have to get, like, bent that way, aren't you? Because there's a plastic beam there. I guess this works. It's in there somewhat. So, I think I know what I have to do to get this working, though. And I will get it working. I will find a way of getting this power supply in. Getting the fan in there when I get it. And I'm going to leave it here for today. And I'll say I need to put the stuff back in. But also, goodbye until another day.